YouTube, it's Tone back with another one for you. Now, this one here, the nature of a remedy. This is the third video. There might be like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 of these coming. The next one we're gonna get into what the forms look like and things like that, how to fill them out and what to put where according to this, right? There is no one way to do any of this. These concepts are gonna hold true, okay, according to the principles that they operate from. So let's get into this. So this is directed at, so this is going to go in conjunction with your tax documentation. I would imagine that this goes prior to you actually filing it, because what this is doing is giving them an opportunity to correct the books, to have them be legal, because they're not otherwise. So you're giving them an opportunity to rectify the situation, right? You're gonna assume that they made a mistake because they fucking definitely did. You know what I mean? So, dear sir, would your accountant please prepare and file tax form 1099 OID? So what you're doing is asking them to go ahead and get their accountants to go ahead and fix this. So cover the eligible issues through products of statutes. And this says products of statutes because they are. Because, when you look at the what do you call it, at like the case number, and they're gonna have a CR, that's criminal charge number XYZ, right? So those all have numbers associated with the codes and statutes, because essentially what they are is products that they're selling. Okay, so these are all going to have a monetary value attached to them as well, which is the reason why when they create these bonds in your name, at the maturity or the release date, or I think 2 years from or so, give or take, you're supposed to you are due all the credits associated with that particular case. So cover the eligible issues, products of statutes, in this case number CR 55 whatever, my state of XYZ. And this matter consists of the appearance bond in the amount of 500,000. You know how when you go to court, they're like, oh, we're gonna we're gonna give you a what do you call it? We're gonna give you a personal recognizance bail, 500,000. Bong, and they bang it, boom. They just made a bond in your name for that amount, and they're gonna sell that shit as soon as you walk out that door, and so sign that dotted line. That's what they're gonna do. So any other bond subsequent to the true bill indictment, could be the penal codes and TDs. Please provide me with the copy of this 1099-10 form, as well as the forensic accounting correspondence to FinCEN Form 101 suspicious activity report. And it's highly suspect what they do. So the tax in question is the original issue discount. The filing of the 1099 OID is not mandatory on my part, it's voluntary, but upon request by me becomes mandatory upon you, and if not complied with, constitutes a willful failure to file for income tax. Which is going to be tax evasion at that point, right? So the filing of the 1099 OID is to enable tax charts to return to the source for settlement and closing of the escrow and exchange treasury direct account. That's going to be a social with dashes, because they're using it for credit. So that's going to be a social with dashes. So after filing, please return to my possession all of the corresponding property that belongs to me. If a response is not received from you within 10 days of receipt of this letter, it will be assumed that you have chosen to dishonor. And it says dishonor me, but they are dishonoring themselves. Okay, so it has nothing to do with you at that point. They're fucking dishonoring themselves. That has nothing to do with you. So then when they deal with the consequences of that, well, they can work that out however it is that they do, if they even do. So this will be the bottom part of the certificate of hailing. On this day, XYZ, I personally placed this letter into a posted, prepaid, first class addressed envelope, and addressed and deposited into the mailbox provided to me from the facility for the U.S. mail. And so also you want to go ahead and put the $1 stamp on these as well. That's going to put you right into the Universal Postal Union, and it's gonna have you qualify for remedy under equity. Okay, so your failure to file federal tax form 1099 OID, dear Mr. Crook, or whatever the dude's name is, you can interchange that with whoever you want. Prosecutor, magistrate, state attorney general, whoever you want to put in that motherfucker. Pretty much whoever's been drawing from your credit. So anybody that's been offering you presentments with your name on it, as if you owe them some type of anything at all, really. So on the date of XYZ, you were requested to file the federal tax reform 1099 OID on certain eligible issues in order to effect the return to source for full settlement and closing of escrow in exchange of the Treasury direct number. And so when they use it for the purpose of credit, which is what they do, and then why they always want your social and they always want you to sign something, they're creating bonds and promissory notes off of everything that you sign there. So that's why I don't sign shit. I'll draw you a fucking picture. That's what I can do for you. You know what I'm saying? And you know where you could put that too. So the 1099 OID tax form identifies the respondent therein who used funds from the source to create the product from with which the eligible issues derives from. You choose to refuse to file the said tax forms or otherwise fail to file it, the willful failure to file, because once you put them on notice and they do have to take notice, then they can no longer move forward without knowingly committing a criminal act. Okay, so that would be willful failure to file. So making you a participant in an international contract, a small claim, and your business becomes eligible to appear in the tax report as the recipient of the payer. So you're going to be the payer, they're going to be the borrower, right? You're going to be the lender in the 1099 forms. So who is identified in the eligible issue, bill, bond, you have knowledge, access to the value of other information to report the file federal tax form. You are now holding a tax liability until you make settlement by return to source, which is what the filing of the 1099 OID does, and that source is eligible for a tax refund. You are the holder in due course of the eligible issues for the value stated herein. I mean, they probably were the holder in due course, but I'm pretty sure that they already sold that shit, so I don't know what the fuck that they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Probably just go grab another go kidnap somebody else and create a bond and then just give you that money. You know what I'm saying? It's probably what they'll just do. So, and that value being a federal tax liability, you are in possession of tax revenue that you get by getting rid of, by effecting the refund to the source treasury direct social security number to the eligible issue as intended. And that's the biggest thing that you got to keep in mind, is that it's not even a fight for you to have. So, because once you go ahead and close this account and file your tax paperwork, now there's a deficit on their side of the books, and the treasury is going to go after them. That has nothing to do with you at that point. So you're just putting them on notice here at this point. So once you dishonor, you cannot go backwards. Since you have persisted in refusing, dishonoring to make the requested filing as requested, I am hereby requesting you provide me with your federal tax ID number for inclusion as a recipient on the 1099 OID. If you refuse to provide me with this information, then I shall designate the information as having been refused on the federal tax reform on 1099 OID, which you can do as well. Because when you file this shit online, you're going to see that there's an option for them if they did not give you their tax identification number, but you can request it with a W-9, and then there's other forms that you can file if they choose not to embrace their job, and so there's obligations and duties that these people have. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't, they do, because they're public servants. So they signed up for this shit. And that's what's mind blowing to me, when they want to fucking act retarded when you start talking to them about duties and obligations, as if you're talking out of your ass, like they didn't sign that fucking thing. You know, like if it was you that filled out the application for them. The fuck out of here. So you motherfuckers filled out the application, not me. Okay? So considering your now serious tax delinquency of deferred taxes on this eligible issue, you will only be allowed 5 working days unless more time is requested immediately from receipt of this letter to ameliorate your willful failure to file, or else further action shall commence at the federal level of the FinCEN 101 report issued on this matter if applicable. And they don't really ever want their books getting ripped open, because I'm sure they're just as shady as they are, you know what I'm saying? Just as shady as they are. So unless notified to the contrary by you within the allotted time, and let me just be clear too, I know that everybody's not grimy that works in that whole field in general, but there's a fucking lot of them, I'll tell you that. So on the information required on the 1099 OID filing, the payer shall be listed as being the originator of the eligible issues, the payer tax ID number as being refused by virtue of your refusal to file said form online. The recipient is being you, recipient tax ID number, and refused as the address and phone number as shown on your mailing is provided, and the value of the eligible issue will be as designated on the issuer, or if unknown, as being my best guesstimate. So pretty much what that's saying is that if they do not want to comply and give you what the actual value of the instruments are in writing, then you're going to have to go ahead and assess a value based on your best understanding of what something like that would cost. and what the fuck it's worth to you for all the bullshit that they put you through. So you can go ahead and add a tax on that too if you want. You know what I'm saying? You can multiply that times 3 or whatever the charge is, mark them liable for repayment as well. All of them, each of them. So, Mr. I'm a real crook prosecutor, right? So here we go down the bottom. So, dear sir, madam, would your accountant please prepare and file federal tax form 1096? And that's so the 1096 is for the federal withheld taxes. That's just making it clear what it is that it is. That'll probably go along with a 1040, and you put that same amount of whatever the instruments are in the federal withheld section as well, and for what you would be due a return on. Okay. So original issue discount. To cover the eligible issues products in this matter, the products in question constitute the eligible issues described as follows. The issues relate to case number CRXYZ, the appearance bond in the amount of the penal bonds, right? So this is going to be whatever time you did and shit like that, and charges. So that's all going to be separate from the freaking appearance bond, and then they create a new appearance bond with the value of the case every single date that you go in there. So it ain't that you're just doing this one time. I would multiply this by the amount of times that you went in there. That's what I would do. So bid performance payment, reinsurance agreement for a Miller Act performance payment, right? So that's the SF bonds in favor of the United States bonds, estimate amount shown on 1099 OID, and the other bonds subsequent to and filing the true bill of indictment. Right, because these are all gonna have values here, and they call them different things. They make them look like crimes and shit, but really it's a fucking number 1, number 2, number 3 of fucking McDonald's. That's what the fuck you have. Okay, well, they can call it whatever the fuck that they want, but really they're just trying to sell you a fucking dream. I mean, they're selling you a fucking nightmare packages. Packages a fucking benefit. You know? These niggas are ridiculous. So all the above eligible issues listed, 1 to 3, are all being withheld. And so that's what they are. So all of these products in issues is prepaid, and I am in need of information of your business plan to process payments in order to facilitate the tax report on the federal withholding to the IRS as taxable income to me. So that's what you'd be doing as well. You'd be claiming it as income. So, and I mean, you can also have them, and so you're going to issue that as income to them as well. Taxable at whatever you say it is. I go times 3. You can go times 10 if you want, because we as bankers, we deal with something called fractional reserve. So you can go ahead and 10x any instrument that you come in contact with. So whatever they say the value is of that, they can be liable for repayment times 10. Okay. So, and I am in need of the information of your business plan to process payments in order to facilitate the tax report on the federal withholding to the IRS as taxable income to me. You did not provide me with a check or money order in order to pay for the product or your withholding, which constitutes dishonor in itself. Any dishonor denial in this matter on your part admits this settlement to be a tax recovery issue. The IRS will want to know where the funds are at and being withheld. Please tell me how to proceed in order to make this settlement. So the tax, and I mean, mind you, so whenever you're sending these people this and they dishonor every single time, you're going to want to go ahead and send a money or an invoice with this shit as well. I go as big as you can think of, because what's going to happen is that they're going to silently acquiesce to everything that you're sending because they have no argument, because they're fucking scam artists. So they're going to so you're going to default them right into your fucking summary judgment along with whatever invoices that you sent along with that, because they're going to have to agree to it, or not if they want to just argue with any one point in any of the documentation or correspondence that you send. They're going to have to address all the affidavits point for point as well, which they will not fucking do. So while you have them by the balls, you might as well throw some money on top of that and send them some invoices along with that, because then you're going to be able to lien them afterward and then go ahead and claim that as fucking federal tax withheld as well. Okay? So it is a game of chess. You already know what the fuck time it is. So the tax in question is the original issue discount. The filing of the 1099 OID is to enable the tax charge to return to the source for settlement and closing of escrow and exchange. The Treasury direct account, that's just social with dashes, because they use that to use the credit in order to create the bonds. Okay, so and so they already got paid for that too, mind you, through their bank, the TTL department, where they went ahead and cashed in those fucking promissory notes that you signed. So they already got paid, mind you. Okay, so after filing, please return to my possession all the corresponding property that belongs to me. If you do not intend to comply with my request, then please provide me with your tax identification number. Your refusal makes you a participant in an international contract, a small claim, and your name becomes eligible to appear in the tax report as the recipient and payer of the pair, who is identified in the eligible issue bill bond. You have knowledge, access to the value of other information to report to file federal tax reform, and you are now holding a tax liability until you make the settlement by return to the source, which is you, which is what the filing of the 1099 OID does. And so you just pretty much letting them know at that point that they're going to be liable for criminal charges if they don't go ahead and comply with your demands. And so, you know, when you see things like this, it might make you question things a little bit and wonder of the validity of it. But just, you know, I want you to keep in mind that you're dealing with public servants. You know what I'm saying? So it's right in their name who it is and what it is that their fucking position is and all that. They really have you believing that it's something else, but they're literally your fucking servants. So they're not in a position to argue or make any demands or any of that shit, really, at all, unless you think that they are, and then they fucking will. So they're just really good actors. I used to think they were bad actors, but they're obviously fucking amazing actors because, fuck, if you can act like that with a fucking straight face and you got a servant badge on your fucking chest, you're either highly fucking retarded, completely brainwashed, or an amazing actor. Okay, so anyway, it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.